Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. We still have people joining, and I think we're going to wait for just a couple more minutes to start the webinar. So we'll come back in a couple minutes and start. Thank you. Okay, I think we'll get started now. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Cloud Native Continuous Delivery with Spinnaker and OpenShift. My name is Bo Roberts. I run marketing at Mx, and I'll be the host for the webinar today. Just a few announcements before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in the GoToWebinar control panel. We'll address questions during the presentation if it's appropriate, or we'll do it during the Q&A at the end of the presentation. There's also a couple handouts that you can find in the GoToWebinar control panel that are relevant for today's presentation, so feel free to download those. And now, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our presenter today, Anup Thotapalli, who's a senior DevOps engineer here at OpsumX. Anup, I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you for the introduction, Bob. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining in. Hope everybody is doing good during the pandemic happening across the world. Okay, so firstly, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you guys are joining in. Thank you for taking your time to participate in this webinar today. So today we'll be talking about a brief introduction about Spinnaker and installing Spinnaker using Operator. So we have our Spinnaker Operator published on open community, operatorhub.io for Kubernetes, which is compatible with Kubernetes. And we also have an operator which is Red Hat certified and tested, which is available on the OpenShift platform. So today we'll be, once the introduction of Spinnaker is done, I'll be walking through a short demo of Kubernetes operator setup. And also I'll show you the process of OpenShift operator setup. But we might not continue the OpenShift operator setup due to the time on OpenShift. It might take a longer time than what the window we have right now. So with that, I'm going to start off with the presentation. So we are OpsumX, and we are a startup. We have the organization is started in 2016, and our base platform we majorly support on Spinnaker, and we have also redefined Spinnaker into Open Enterprise Spinnaker, which we have improvised with some of our basic customizations to support medium to large enterprise organizations as per their continuous integration and delivery requirements. And along with Open Enterprise Spinnaker, we have also developed a product called Autopilot, which basically assists organizations to execute their delivery of the day-to-day releases, which captures the successful releases and the failure releases. So it also gives you a detailed output. If there is any installation failure, it also gives you a detailed output of why this so-called release installation has failed. And it also allow users to, environment basis on which user approved this particular release. So it will also allow you to find out who's the user that's gone ahead and deployed. So basically each and every minor input that is provided from Spinnaker can be seen in Autopilot. And yeah, we have a team of around 50 plus across. So our head office is in US, and we also have office in Hyderabad and Bangalore. So in US and India, we have around 50 plus team members contributing for Spinnaker, supporting our clients. So we have major clients like Cisco and Untitled, Algar, Telecom. So supporting our clients on a 24/7 basis. So we have a team around the US and India. And
thanks, Anup. Why don't we do the poll questions now, so that you can kind of tailor the presentation for the audience. Everybody, there's a couple of questions we like to ask at the beginning of our webinars, which allows our presenter to sort of tailor the presentation a bit for, who's in the audience. So I'm going to put up a couple poll questions that just take about 10 or 15 seconds each, and if you could answer the poll question, we'd really appreciate it. I'll read them off, but you'll see them on the screen. The first question is, are you currently doing continuous delivery? If yes, with what percentage of your production applications? So, and the answers are, yes, dev and test only, or yes, less than 10%, less than 50%, more than 50%, or you're not doing continuous delivery. So if you could just answer that question quickly, that would be great. That'll help Anup understand who's in the audience and kind of tailor the presentation a bit. Okay, I think we've gotten everybody. We've gotten everybody's vote. So I'm gonna close that, and then there's one other question that we'd like to ask, which is, let's see here. Well, you know what? I think we're gonna move on to the presentation right now, and we'll answer ask this other question later in the presentation. So thanks. Go ahead, Anup.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everyone, for promptly responding back on the poll. So to start off with, we have listed out a few pointers about how fast the release process is getting adapted in enterprises, and what are the challenges, the day-to-day challenges that most of the organizations are facing, and what can be the best practice that to avoid all of these challenges. So as we know, globally, enterprises are planning to adapt fast release process and which is basically by undergoing a digital transformation. So in this process, enterprises are integrating with multiple CI/CD tools like let's say Jenkins, GitLab, or highly used CD concepts like tools like Chef and Puppet. So with all this, enterprises are basically planning to increase the adoption of the public cloud and containers, cloud native application. So basically, like which is like transformation into microservices and faster release process, so that they can roll out the releases faster and make the deployment, make the latest version of their product updated. So in this process, we have also found some common challenges, like maintaining custom scripts, which is actually, I personally have seen it as a big time challenge, because if someone is stepping out, the handover process, like end-to-end handover, needs to be done. And manual verification, it's always like a big time challenge, because we need to wait for the other approver to approve, verify all the bugs, whether if everything is fixed or not. And this manual verification process is also time consuming, because until the approval is done, we don't know whether the release is gonna roll out, or if they reject, where should we roll back the release. So how uh, how long that's gonna take? That's a time consuming process. And ensuring policy and adhering to your organization, adhering to the organization compliance, that that is usually become a challenge to meet the release SLA with the by following the usual compliance process. So for all of these challenges, we have found that the one best practice is to have end-to-end automated. So which is like start from the deployment till the promote to production, promoting your deployment to production. End-to-end to be more automated is the best practice which we have found out. And for this process, we also found that Spinnaker is the best tool for all your CI/CD challenges, because Spinnaker is battle tested in Netflix. So initially, just to give a brief introduction, so Spinnaker is initially developed by Netflix in 2014, and then it's battle tested on their production by having around some 7,000 plus applications and around 10,000 deployments on a day-to-day basis. And when Spinnaker was stable, it was open sourced by Netflix on 2015. And since then, it was backed by huge tech giants like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Target, Pivotal, so multiple organizations. And we from Opsonix, we also contribute to some of the development process of Spinnaker, like resolving some issues and all of that. So our team from US and India, working on implementing, developing, and fixing multiple features in Spinnaker. So basically, what is Spinnaker? So most of you, for some of you who's not familiar with Spinnaker, so Spinnaker is a multi-cloud platform. So it's an open source multi-cloud continuous delivery platform, which allows users to deploy high velocity of deployments with confidence. Basically, all of your releases can be done with safe and confidence, because of its uniqueness. So it is basically designed with easy plugin process. You can integrate any tool within no time. There's a huge documentation available on Spinnaker, where you can see all the compatible tools with Spinnaker. So right now, when I say multi-cloud platform, we can deploy Spinnaker on Google Cloud, AWS, Azure, Google App Engine, OpenStack, Kubernetes, Oracle Cloud, and also if you have a proxy servers within your network or an on-prem or a private cloud. So basically, anywhere and everywhere, the installation is possible. If it is a proxy server, it is a little complex because to download rest of the Spinnaker services, it needs internet access. But still, we have we have changed the installation process for the proxy also, and that is also the installation process also available in the documentation. And as I've said, multiple tools are supported in Spinnaker. For example, source code management, GitHub, uh, Bitbucket. You can also, if in case if you're using Amazon storage or GCS, so basically any of this, any place where you store your code. So basically, it supports all kinds of source code management. And coming to the CI tools, currently Jenkins and Travis are completely supported, and the rest of the tools that's available, it's still integration in progress. So some of them are so like say some of the other tools are already tested, but still it's officially yet to be announced of whether if it's supported or not. And so and other core features are like with Spinnaker, it is easy for user to maintain an immutable infrastructure for which allows an user to basically scale up or scale down or roll back the deployments within no time, and which also eliminates your downtime, which also eliminates or reduces your downtime for your production environments. And Spinnaker also has inbuilt strategies, like most of you might have already been aware. So it also has inbuilt deployment strategies, which makes it unique. And some of the deployment strategies are like blue, green, or red, black deployment, which allows a user to deploy any new version of a product. Um, and in case if you feel that your deployment is doesn't meet the actual bug cycle. So if there is any issue open, you can roll back the deployment to the previous version with minimal downtime, and sometimes you might also not see any downtime at all. And so pipeline management system is pretty flexible. You can actually maintain multiple stages in a pipeline, so which allows you to deploy in multiple environments. And in case if you want to use the same Spinnaker for your entire organization, it is highly tested. So you can run any number of pipelines, any number of applications, and as long as you have enough resources on your system, you can use any number of pipelines and any number of executions on a day-to-day basis. And as I've already mentioned, it can be integrated, Spinnaker can be integrated with all the major cloud providers available in the industry right now, and also on-prem. And you can also install your Spinnaker on Kubernetes directly, because Spinnaker is multiple services. Spinnaker is based on multiple microservices. And there's a huge community available out on Spinnaker. We have a Slack channel where users discuss their issues or their new implementations or the latest features that has been released on a day-to-day basis. All of these discussions will be done on a day-to-day basis, and so it's a huge community. Slack and Stack Overflow is pretty active, and there are huge discussion happening around. So, and as I've already mentioned, continuous integration using Jenkins and Travis. Spinnaker also has a CLI command line interface available, which allows users to take, if you want to replicate your pipelines into multiple, for suppose you have a pipeline which you want to replicate into multiple pipelines, you can directly do it from the Spinnaker UI, or else you can also go ahead in the backend and try it out from the Spinnaker CLI. Role-based access control, which allows users to track your deployments, basically who's approving, and you can provide access on an environmental basis. So in case if you want your developer to access only the developer environment, you can provide the access as how you want it to be defined. If you want the user to only execute the pipeline, the user will have access only to execute the pipeline. He can't make any changes to the pipeline. So basically, you can control on what role you want to define to that particular user or a group you're providing the access of Spinnaker. And coming to monitoring integration, currently we have Datadog, AppDynamics, Prometheus, Grafana, and Sumo Logic. So yeah, basically you can integrate with most of the day-to-day monitoring tools that enterprises are using around right now. And with Chaos Monkey integration, it allows user to have that confidence that your production is tested, and as it your production is basically battle tested and safe, so that any deployments that is coming from the lower environments before it is coming to the production, it makes sure that the release that is going to your production, it's properly tested and deployed in production, and your production will also be under monitoring with the help of Chaos Monkeys. And the features of Spinnaker we have already discussed: delivery pipelines. Spinnaker has unique pipeline strategy, unique deployment strategies, which helps you to uh, create a pipeline, and it will take care of the stage until the deployment phase. And Spinnaker also supports an application management like Apache Tomcat, in case if you want to go ahead and integrate your Apache Tomcat application management. So that can also be handled by Spinnaker. And continuous integration, as I already mentioned, Jenkins is already supported. Travis, Circle CI, yeah, I forgot to give you the name. So Circle CI. So basically, multiple CI tools are already supported in Spinnaker, and multi-cloud deployments, which is already aware, AWS, GCP, you can go ahead and deploy at any environment that you have within your environments right now. And this is how the architecture of Spinnaker looks. It is basically dependent. Spinnaker runs with multiple services, where Deck is the UI of the Spinnaker, which is the front end, and Gate makes all the API calls, which communicates with the rest of the services to capture all of the output. And Orca is the orchestration engine, to allows you to handle the ad hoc operations and pipelines. Cloud driver is basically responsible to mutate calls to all the cloud providers. So when I mean cloud providers, you can, so let's say Kubernetes, in case if you're using Kubernetes to deploy a microservice, so that will be set up as a cloud provider for Spinnaker, and any communication that goes to Kubernetes will go via cloud provider. So cloud provider will be the calling agent to index and cache all your deployment resources. And Front 50 is used to persist the metadata of your applications, pipelines, projects, and notifications. So yes, yeah, you can also configure notifications, and we have multiple notification process that is available to configure right now. Like emails is always known. You can also configure an SMS via Slack. We have tested with one of our client by enabling WebEx teams as well. So with that, the notifications can also be covered. And Roscoe is basically used for the baking your images, which produces immutable VM images for various cloud providers. Again, you can go ahead and deploy it in GCP, AWS, Azure. So for this baking an image, right now it wraps your image with Packer, but later on it will be expanded to support additional mechanisms for producing images. And so IGAR. So IGAR is used to trigger pipelines using your continuous integration jobs. So this is where your Jenkins or Travis or Circle CA comes into picture. So using the jobs that is available in your CA tools, IGAR is what triggers the pipeline. So once your pipeline, you don't have to juggle between multiple UIs to see whether your Jenkins job is executed or not. Once if a developer commits the code and if you have enabled the trigger in Jenkins after the commit, the trigger automatically gets executed on Spinnaker and it starts off with the deployment. And echo is the eventing bus, which is usually for the notifications. So this is what sends out all the notifications. So this is the service that is used to send out all the notifications from Spinnaker. So if your deployment is completed, that sends out a notification. If you have multiple stages, development, QA, SIT, UAT, production. So each and every stage, you enable notification for multiple groups. Echo takes care of sending out the notifications. And Fiat is the authorization service where you can implement all your role-based access control. And so you might have this question: how can we integrate all this all these services into one single place so that Spinnaker executes, Spinnaker runs successfully? So Halyard is the service manager. So Halyard manages the life cycle of each of the each of the services that I've listed here. And but this Halyard, it only interacts with the services during Spinnaker startup or updates and rollbacks. So apart from this, there is nowhere else Halyard comes into picture. Services that we are seeing in this architecture are completely independent, and it doesn't rely on Halyard completely. So in case if you want your Spinnaker to be Halyard free, once if your Spinnaker is completely spun up, you can disable Halyard and you can use the Spinnaker as it is. So that's also available. So in my first slide, I did mention about Mx Enterprise Spinnaker. So with the Enterprise Spinnaker from Opsmix, we have simplified the application delivery by adding a dashboard to the continuous delivery process and easy application onboarding, real-time deployment visibility. So that this can be during the deployment or post-deployment. So basically, either ways, you have real-time deployment visibility available on the dashboard that we are providing, and securing the delivery by adding dynamic secret management. So, yeah, so if you're familiar with Kubernetes, I think most of you might have already integrated Vault. So we have used Vault as our base for the secrets management. But otherwise, we are using another approach also, wherein we are pushing all our secrets into Git, so that we can from Spinnaker we directly take all our secrets from the Git and then access it directly. But we have tested with both options, both Vault and Git. So that's the secret management which we have currently implemented. And fine-grained authorization. So authorization process we have tested with multiple available options right now: Active Directory, Azure Active Directory, G Suite authentication, SAML single sign-on options. So, and the authorization part, we are still going on and testing because we have multiple other tools available like SiteMinder and all of that. So these testings are still in on the roadmap right now. So this will also be updated soon. And with the help of Enterprise Spinnaker, your audit trails, as we have mentioned, Enterprise Spinnaker includes autopilot as a service as well. So with that, your audit trails and policy-driven pipelines with role-based access control is simpler, and all of these services has an UI. You can basically see everything on a UI. And we have discussed in the initial stages that about the manual verification process. So with Spinnaker already has an automated verification process, but with Spinnaker and Autopilot, um, we have improvised the auto verification process by showing the logs, metrics, and events of each and every container-based metrics on the Autopilot UI. And performance-wise, how is the performance of your system going on? Functionality, reliability, so security verification. So basically, end-to-end, everything is covered in the automated verification process. So this also includes testing of your application, canary analysis, blue-green rolling update, and keeping a track of your production. So that is the main target for having all of these implementations here. And so most of these are already covered, but audit trails, fine-grained authorization, automated verification. So apart from that, Istio service mesh and Istio integration is something which we have implemented, which is basically for traffic management of your releases. So in case if you want your latest release and the previous release, both of them to be active until the testing is completely done, you can control that from Istio by assigning the traffic management as how you want it to define. So that is one of the other integration which you have covered. So, why Spinnaker? This is so in this we are basically talking about the pipeline stages which we have implemented so far, and which makes it easy for a user to track everything on one single UI. So once if a developer checks in a code and it starts building up, baking your deployment. If you're using Kubernetes, there is a Kubernetes bake stage which will bake with all the Helm charts. If you're defining a Helm chart, so it will bake with all the Helm charts and proceed with the deployment. And then your testing, in case if you want to do a manual testing, there is a manual stage available, or else there is a production deploy. There is a auto verification which I've already shown you, and it proceeds with the production deployment. If you see any issues in the prod, you can always roll back to the previous version, or else you can consider that as a successful deployment and end it there. So as I've mentioned, OES comes with our AI-driven solution, Autopilot, for your continuous delivery as a service. And I think I've already given you the insights about Autopilot functions and everything. So I would like to give you a brief note about the installation methods available in Spinnaker. So in case if you are testing Spinnaker only for your usage, not in a high availability, you can always go ahead with the standalone approach. But this is not recommended for production. Distributed Spinnaker is nothing but the high availability Spinnaker, which is basically production compatible. If you have a multi noded cluster, or if you if you have a multi-noded cluster and if you want to deploy it in your environments like Kubernetes, OpenShift, AWS, EKS, GKE, any platform. So once you start the installation of a distributed Spinnaker, it makes it easy for you. Spinnaker itself, it assigns all of the resources as available in your cluster, and it gets so your container, your services will get assigned as per the availability. And Helm charts deployment, there are so Helm chart deployments using the value using the YAML that you define as how you need. Spinnaker gets installed as per the versions, anything. So basically, Spinnaker gets installed as per the definition that you declare in the YAML that you are providing here. And operator is something which we have put it on the community right now. So it is available for both Kubernetes and OpenShift. On operatorhub.io, you can find it on Kubernetes and for Kubernetes and OpenShift as well. And if you're using a OpenShift directly, not Kubernetes, you can also see our operator available on the OpenShift UI. So I'll show you both options right now. So before we go ahead with the demo, I think most of you are already aware of what is Helm and what how helpful is it for the enterprises right now. So Helm is it's the basic idea of Helm is to shift the server side. So it's basically to enable reusability of Kubernetes YAML artifacts through templates and so with by adopting Helm, basically in case if you have a mass deployment of microservices. So the package manager within the Helm simplifies the manageability of your deployments. All all of this happens in a declarative approach as how you declare it in your in the YAML file that you are using. And this project has gained a considerable popularity as it solves one of the key problems that enterprises have right now, which is like creating custom YAML for deploying or managing the workloads with different settings, or deploying it in different environments of your as how you want to define. You can basically create and declare it. So this is totally works on a declarative approach. And in Spinnaker installation, so not only Spinnaker installation, but after installing from the Spinnaker pipelines also, we basically support Helm-based deployments. And so coming to operator, so what is an operator and how good is it, helpful for the current enterprises requirements? So operator is a operator hub. So basically all of the operators that is available, all of them are published on the operator hub. So which is a home for Kubernetes community to share uh, software from multiple sources globally. You in the operator hub.io, you can see you have multiple options available, and we are glad that we are also part of it, contributing our Spinnaker integration on that. And from Opsmix, we have integrated we have put in our Spinnaker, which will which is basically an easy approach for you to install it. It's just some 2 to 3 steps for you to follow and install. And the benefits of using an operator is you can maintain stateful application through writing a custom controller. So it makes automation easy for you, and Kubernetes operators take the knowledge from a DevOps team and systemize it. And this with operators, there is actually a huge leap for cloud computing, because any enterprise solution that is so right now there is actually a lot variety of operators available, wherein you can just go run it in a single shot and test it and make use of the services as that is available right now. So what is the major differences between operator and Helm? So both are basically both of these services are two different phases managing complex workloads on Kubernetes. So I'm more talking about Kubernetes right now because the demo that I'm giving is on Kubernetes, but this is the same on OpenShift as well. So Helm makes it easy for a user, to maintain the day-to-day activities like deploying your artifacts or your application in a Kubernetes cluster, and just maintaining the deployment. Whereas coming to operator, this is majorly focused on addressing your management tasks, complex workloads, such as maintaining your SSL certificate management, Postgres control, and so on. So So Spinnaker operator has two important components. So that is the custom resources definition and operator lifecycle manager. So custom CRD will basically control the operator with all the data that represents your application and all that. Coming to the operator lifecycle management, this is basically responsible to upgrade or to maintain the metadata of your operator, dependency resolutions, or install multiple versions on the same node. So basically, to control all of this, operator lifecycle manager is required. And OLM is by default available in OpenShift. You don't have to, you know, explicitly go ahead and configure an OLM for OpenShift. Whereas coming to Kubernetes, you have to explicitly make this available on Kubernetes. So these are the simple steps, simple deploy steps to deploy the operator that is available on the operator hub.io, and it also has the manifest. So to create a resource definition, the service account of your the service account that need to be defined for your deployment and the operator. So all of this is already available on operator hub.io. So here I'm just walking you through on this. So uh, we have spoke about the benefits of Spinnaker and everything. So what is the actual benefit of Spinnaker operator? It's again the installation process is actually it's made simple and uh, you can control so built-in policy to control dynamically and alter multi-service composite for your application deployment. And the operator that we are talking about right now is Red Hat certified and tested, and that's the reason it's also available on the Red Hat marketplace. And it's enterprise grade solution for your continuous delivery, which adheres to your compliance and easy to upgrade. So any latest upgrade details, that's all the release details, that's all available, and it's easy to upgrade as you go. So right now we'll go ahead with the demo. So this is the operator that I'll be using right now. I will just walk you through on how and what it does. And while this is happening, so the current version that I'm deploying is a Spinnaker 1.17, and this is the version that is available on operator hub.io as well. To access the Spinnaker from operator hub.io, all you need to do is search for Spinnaker, go ahead and use this. So this is the current version that is available, and you can see the previous versions that is also available. And the deployment instructions are pretty simple and straightforward. So uh, let me quickly go ahead and start off with the installation. And while this installation is happening, I'll also walk you through how this deployment can happen in an OpenShift environment. So let me initially show you how the deployment is getting created. So it's creating a CRD, the custom resource definition, service account, assigning the roles as how it require, and creating the operator and all. And it goes ahead and deploys the Spinnaker. So let's see how it does right now. So while this installation is happening, let me also walk you through the operator hub. So this is the OpenShift marketplace where operator hub is already available, and the same you got to do the same. Search for Spinnaker, and there are three versions of Spinnaker available. Um, Out of these, the two are for community, which is there on the operator hub.io, which is compatible for both Kubernetes and OpenShift. And this is the OpenShift, the Red Hat certified operator, so which is already installed on my current environment. So all you got to do is search for this and go ahead and install it. So let me, while this installation is happening, let me remove this and go ahead and deploy, go ahead and do the deployment again, so that I can help you to understand how this can be started up. So this takes time to load up the metadata which comes from the Red Hat platform. So I'll just go ahead and click on install. So while this is loading up, this this is this how usually it happens. Um, Due to the metadata load up and everything, so this takes some time. While this is happening, let's see the progress of this. So you see here, the CRD and everything got created successfully. The custom resource definitions and everything got created, and it is deploying version 1.17.4. And right now it's waiting for the DEX service to come up. So once the DEX service comes up, it starts off with the rest of the installation and proceeds further. So yeah, there you go. The DEX service is up, and the Halyard progress is started. So initially, it's sorry for the confusion. So initially, it waits for the Halyard to initialize and get into a stable state. Once this is stable, it start off with the Halyard progress, which is nothing but configure your cloud provider account and configure the rest of the details, and deploy the Spinnaker at the last stage. So while this is happening, the status here. So yeah, it shows up with all the metadata loaded. It shows up the namespace. So I'm going to deploy it for the default namespace. All you got to do is just click on subscribe. So once the subscription is done, you got to get into the installed operators and click on Open Enterprise Spinnaker Operator. Click on Open Enterprise Spinnaker and then create. So here you see the resource definitions and everything. So this has all of those requirements for Spinnaker. So this is the namespace, OpenShift operators, the version of Spinnaker, and all of the rest of the configurations, how it is going to happen. So basically, once you see this YAML, all you got to do is just click on create, and this goes ahead and keeps on creating the rest of the services that are required for Spinnaker. So this might take quite a long time than expected. So I'll let this happening. And in the meantime, I want to see this here. Okay, so there you go. The deployment is successfully done, and so this is the Halyard container, which manages the entire Spinnaker services on startup and during the startup and stopping. And so these are the services that got created. Halyard is for Spinnaker management, and Minio is the storage that we are using right now. With the default operator, we have already provided the storage options, which is pre-configured, and that comes as a container. So you'll be will be using Minio by default, and OES Enterprise Spinnaker metrics. This helps you to look at the metrics of the deployment. And these are the services that we have discussed about Spinnaker, Cloud Driver, Deck, Echo, Front 50, and everything. So since I don't have a direct access and since I'm not creating any load balancer, so I have made the deck and gate as a node port so that I get the node port for this, which will allow me to access the Spinnaker UI. So yeah, let me go ahead and access the Spinnaker UI. So yeah, there's the Spinnaker UI, and we have the latest version of Spinnaker deployed. So currently, it picks up. So since I have configured Spinnaker Kubernetes for the Spinnaker, so it picks up all of the current uh, available services on the available namespaces on Kubernetes, because I haven't defined any role-based access for this particular installation, or I'm not installing it on with any other permission. So it picks up any account that is available on Spinnaker. So it also picked up the default account and it's using it as how it requires. So this is a simple installation of operator. So I will, yeah. So this is the simple installation of operator, and with this, I'll be moving on to the Q&A.
Okay, thanks, Anoop. Yeah, we're running a little bit behind, so I would like to actually put up a couple poll questions right now. We've gotten some requests for the presentation slides. We don't post them here in the webinar, but we're happy to send them to you after the webinar. So let me put up the first poll question. Another question that we like to ask is, this helps us to design, content and future webinars for the audience. So we'd like to know, is your organization currently evaluating or using Spinnaker? Are you evaluating it? Are you using it? Are you using it in production? Or are you not evaluating or using Spinnaker at this time? So if you could just quickly answer that question, that would be great. It helps us to come up with ideas for future webinars and know who our audience is. So, okay, I'm going to close a couple more seconds and I'm going to close that poll. And And then as I mentioned, we're running a little bit behind. We're going to take some questions, but just in case we have to cut it short, we can send you the presentation slides. But if you would like us to follow up with you on anything else, including Spinnaker training, onboarding, or support, to schedule something, what we call a complimentary continuous delivery strategy workshop, that's something that you can contact us about. And of course, if you would like to receive the presentation slides, just indicate that in the poll, and we'll follow up with you after the webinar. Okay, thank you, everybody. And if you have any questions for Anoop, please send them in now. Anoop, let's see. We have a couple questions, and let's take the first one. First question is, can we upgrade Spinnaker and Spinnaker Operator seamlessly?
Yes, yeah, we can. It is possible, yeah.
Okay. Another question is, can we back up and restore Spinnaker Operator?
Backup and restore. So yes, it can be done. Yeah, it can be done now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Any other questions? If you guys have any other questions, please submit them now. Otherwise, we are running a few minutes behind, and we'll probably just end the webinar if there's no other questions. So I'll give it a few more seconds, and if anybody has a question, enter it now. Otherwise, thank you very much for attending the webinar today. We look forward to seeing you on future webinars, and feel free to follow up with us at hello@OpsMX if you have any questions about the content or anything else regarding Spinnaker. So that, I think, is it. So thank you very much, everybody, and have a great day.